At a family dinner, my mom casually announced that my sister would be moving in with me. I refused. She slapped me hard and screamed, "You ungrateful brat." I said nothing and walked out. The moment I stepped outside the door, my mother's screams turned into panic. The restaurant buzzed with the usual Friday evening energy as I sat across from my family at Giovanni's, a place we'd been coming to for years. My mother had insisted on this dinner, claiming she wanted to celebrate my recent promotion to senior architect at Morrison & Associates. I should have known better. "So, there's something we need to discuss," my mother, Patricia, announced halfway through our appetizers. Her tone carried that familiar edge of authority that had ruled our household for decades. I set down my fork, already sensing trouble. My sister Veronica sat beside her, eyes fixed on her plate with unusual intensity. My father, Thomas, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Your sister is going through a difficult time," Patricia continued, reaching over to pat Veronica's hand. "The divorce has been hard on her, and she needs family support right now." "I understand that," I replied carefully. "How can I help?" Patricia smiled, but there was steel behind it. "She'll be moving in with you next week. You have that beautiful 3-bedroom condo downtown, plenty of space. It's perfect." The air seemed to leave my lungs. "Excuse me?" "It's only temporary," Veronica finally spoke up, though she still wouldn't meet my eyes. "Just until I get back on my feet financially." I took a slow breath, trying to process what was happening. "You're telling me, not asking me." "Don't be dramatic," Patricia waved her hand dismissively. "Your family. This is what family does." My mind raced through the implications. I'd worked 12-hour days for the past 5 years to afford that condo. It was my sanctuary, my space, the first place I'd ever truly owned. I'd scrimped and saved while my parents had paid for Veronica's lavish wedding, her graduate degree, and countless other expenses over the years. "I'm not comfortable with this arrangement," I said quietly. Patricia's expression hardened. "Not comfortable? After everything we've done for you?" "I appreciate everything you've done, but this is my home. I need my privacy and space." "Space?" Patricia's voice rose slightly. "Your sister is going through a crisis, and you're worried about space?" Thomas cleared his throat. "Maybe we should discuss this more privately." "No," Patricia cut him off. "This needs to be settled now. Your daughter," she gestured at me, "needs to understand family obligations." Veronica finally looked up. "It really would just be temporary. A few months at most." I'd heard that before. When Veronica had temporarily borrowed my car for a weekend trip, and returned it 3 weeks later with a dent and an empty gas tank. When she temporarily used my credit card for an emergency and racked up $2,000 in charges. The pattern was clear. "I said no," I repeated, firmer this time. Patricia's face flushed red. "You selfish girl. After we paid for your college." "I paid for my own college," I interrupted. "I worked 2 jobs and took out student loans that I'm still paying off." "We helped," Patricia insisted. "You gave me $500 my freshman year. That's it." The table fell silent. Other diners were starting to glance our way. Patricia stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "How dare you speak to me this way? Everything we've sacrificed for you, and this is the gratitude we get?" "I'm grateful for what you've done," I said, remaining seated. "But I'm allowed to have boundaries." What happened next occurred so fast I barely registered it. Patricia lunged across the table, her hand connecting with my cheek in a sharp crack that echoed through the restaurant. The sting spread across my face like wildfire. "You ungrateful brat!" she screamed. I sat there, stunned, my hand rising to touch my burning cheek. The entire restaurant had gone quiet. Waiters froze mid-step. Conversations died. Thomas stood up. "Patricia, what have you?" I pushed back from the table slowly, grabbing my purse. My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice steady. "I'm leaving now." "Sit down," Patricia hissed. "We're not finished." I didn't respond. I simply turned and walked toward the exit, my heels clicking against the tile floor. Behind me, I heard Patricia calling my name, her voice shifting from anger to something else. "Wait, please, we can talk about this." I pushed through the heavy wooden doors and stepped into the cool evening air. The parking lot stretched before me, street lights beginning to flicker on in the gathering dusk. That's when I heard it. A scream, but different from before. This one carried genuine panic. "Stop. Come back. You don't understand." I paused at my car, key in hand. Through the restaurant's front windows, I could see Patricia pressed against the glass, her face contorted with something that looked like fear. Thomas was pulling at her arm, trying to get her to sit down. Veronica had her face in her hands. My phone buzzed. A text from my father: "Please come back inside. Your mother needs to tell you something important." I deleted it and got in my car. The drive home took 20 minutes through downtown traffic. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white, replaying the scene over and over. The slap still burned on my cheek, but it was the emotional blow that cut deeper. My phone rang continuously. Patricia. Thomas. Veronica. I ignored them all. When I finally pulled into my building's underground parking garage, I sat in the silence for a moment. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. My phone buzzed again, this time with a voicemail notification. Against my better judgment, I played it. Patricia's voice came through, shaky and desperate. "Sweetheart, please pick up. I know I handled that terribly. There's something I need to tell you. It's about the house. We're going to lose the house. Your father's business failed 6 months ago, and we're behind on the mortgage. We thought we could fix it, but Veronica lost her job 3 weeks ago. She can't afford her apartment anymore. We're all in trouble. I'm so sorry. Please call me back." I sat there, phone in hand, processing this information. The house I'd grown up in, the business my father had built over 30 years, all of it crumbling. And they'd hidden it from me for months. Another text came through, this time from Veronica: "Mom's having a panic attack. Dad took her to the ER. Please." I closed my eyes, fighting the instinct to rush to the hospital. Part of me, the part that had been conditioned since childhood to put my family first, screamed to turn the car around. But another part, the part that had just been slapped in a crowded restaurant, reminded me that I was allowed to protect myself. I went upstairs to my condo, locked the door behind me, and poured myself a glass of wine. My hands had finally stopped shaking. The next morning brought 37 missed calls and 14 text messages. I read through them over coffee, piecing together the full picture. My father's manufacturing company had lost its biggest client to overseas competition. They'd been draining their savings trying to stay afloat. The house had been refinanced twice. Veronica's husband had left her not just because of their marriage problems, but because he discovered she'd been hiding massive credit card debt. My phone rang again. This time it was my Aunt Linda, my mother's sister. "I heard what happened," she said without preamble. "Your mother called me from the hospital last night." "Is she okay?" "Physically, yes. They gave her something for anxiety and sent her home. But we need to talk about what's really going on." I listened as Linda explained what she'd learned. The financial situation was worse than the voicemail had indicated. My parents were facing foreclosure within 60 days. Veronica was being evicted from her apartment at the end of the month. They'd been counting on me taking Veronica in because they literally had nowhere else to turn. "But that doesn't excuse how she treated you," Linda continued. "Slapping you in public? That was completely out of line." "She's never done anything like that before," I admitted. "Desperation makes people do terrible things. But here's what you need to know: they're expecting you to save them. All of them. Patricia already told me she thinks you'll let Veronica move in once you know how bad things are. And if I don't?" Linda sighed. "Then they'll have to figure it out themselves. But they're banking on your guilt, honey. They always have been." After we hung up, I sat on my balcony watching the city wake up below. Construction crews started their work. Coffee shops opened their doors. Life continued, indifferent to personal dramas. I'd spent my entire childhood watching my older sister Veronica get the bigger bedroom, the newer clothes, the family car on her 16th birthday while I had to wait until I turned 17. I'd been told I was the responsible one, the one who didn't need as much attention or support. I'd internalized that message and built a life of self-sufficiency. Now they wanted me to sacrifice that independence to fix problems I hadn't created. I went inside and made myself breakfast, going through the motions mechanically. Toast. Scrambled eggs. Orange juice. Each action felt deliberate, a way to anchor myself in normalcy while my family imploded miles away. My laptop sat on the kitchen counter, and I opened it to distract myself with work emails. There was a message from my colleague, Marcus, asking if I was okay. Word had apparently spread about the restaurant incident. Someone had recorded Patricia slapping me on their phone. Marcus had seen it circulating on social media before it got taken down. The humiliation washed over me fresh. Not only had my mother struck me in public, but strangers had witnessed it, recorded it, shared it with their networks. I wondered how many people had watched that video, forming opinions about my family, about me. Another email caught my attention. This one from someone named Jennifer Hartley, who identified herself as a family therapist. She'd seen the video and wanted to offer her services pro bono if I needed support. The kindness from a complete stranger made my eyes burn with unshed tears. I closed the laptop and walked to my bedroom, opening the closet where I kept old photo albums. I pulled out the one from my teenage years and flipped through the pages. There was Veronica's high school graduation, surrounded by flowers and gifts. My graduation, a year later, had been a small dinner at home. There was Veronica's college send-off party with 50 guests. I'd driven myself to college with my belongings packed in my used sedan. One photo stopped me cold. It was from Christmas when I was 19 and Veronica was 22. She had received a brand new laptop for her classes. I'd gotten a sweater. I remembered being happy for her, telling myself she needed it more for her graphic design program. I'd made do with the library computers for another year. The patterns had always been there. I'd just convinced myself they didn't matter. My phone buzzed. A text from Thomas, "Your mother is resting. The doctor said her blood pressure was dangerously high. This stress isn't good for her heart. Please reconsider." I stared at the message, feeling the manipulation even through the screen. My mother's health was now my responsibility. If something happened to her, it would be my fault for not catering to her demands. I typed back, "I hope she feels better soon." My answer remains the same. Within seconds, he called. I let it ring 4 times before answering. "Do you understand what's happening here?" Thomas asked, his voice strained. "Your mother could have had a heart attack last night. The stress of this situation. The stress of losing your business and your home," I interrupted gently. "Not the stress of me having boundaries. It's the same thing to her. She sees you refusing to help as a rejection of the family. Then she's seeing it wrong." I sat down on my bed, the photo album still open beside me. "Dad, can I ask you something? Why did you always give Veronica more? She's 3 years older than me. She should have been the one showing me how to be independent." The line went quiet. I could hear him breathing, considering his response. "We didn't give her more," he finally said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Yes, you did. Money, attention, support, everything. I'm not angry about it anymore, but I need you to be honest with me." "Why?" Another long pause. "Veronica struggled more. She needed more help to succeed. And I didn't struggle? You were different. Independent. You figured things out on your own." "Because I had to," I said quietly. "Because when I asked for help, I was told to be more responsible. To work harder. To manage better. So I did. And you interpreted my survival skills as not needing anything from you." Thomas cleared his throat. "I never thought about it that way." "I know. But I'm thinking about it now. And I'm realizing that if I let Veronica move in, I'm just continuing this cycle. She won't learn to stand on her own. You and Mom won't face the real issues. And I'll be resentful and exhausted." "So your sister's well-being matters less than your comfort?" The accusation stung. My well-being matters as much as hers. That's all I'm saying. I matter as much as Veronica does. He didn't respond to that. After a moment, he said, "I need to go check on your mother," and hung up. I spent the rest of the day cleaning my condo, scrubbing floors and organizing closets with an intensity that bordered on frantic. Physical activity kept my mind occupied, kept me from second-guessing my decision. By evening, I'd received texts from various family members. My cousin Bradley asking if the rumors were true. My Uncle George saying he was disappointed in my selfishness. My grandmother Dorothy sending a rambling message about family loyalty and duty. Only Aunt Linda sent support, "Standing firm is hard. Proud of you." I ordered takeout and ate it alone on my balcony, watching the city lights flicker on as darkness fell. Below, people walked dogs, couples held hands, teenagers laughed on street corners. The world kept spinning despite my personal earthquake. Sunday morning brought a surprise visitor. I opened my door to find Veronica standing there, her eyes red-rimmed. "Can I come in?" she asked. I hesitated, then stepped aside. She entered slowly, looking around at my space the way someone might survey foreign territory. "Nice place," she said, though her tone carried an edge. "Must be nice having all this room to yourself." "Veronica? No, let me talk." She turned to face me. "I came here to tell you what I really think. Not what Mom wants me to say, not some diplomatic version. The truth. I braced myself. I think you're being selfish, she said bluntly. I think you could easily help me and you're choosing not to. I'm your sister. I'm 3 years older than you. I practically raised you when we were kids. We shared a room growing up. We used to tell each other everything. And now, when I'm at my lowest point, you're slamming the door in my face. I'm not slamming. Yes, you are. You're hiding behind this boundaries excuse when really you just don't want to be inconvenienced. Your life is perfect, and you don't want my mess contaminating it. The words landed like blows. My life isn't perfect. Compared to mine, it is. You have this amazing job, this beautiful home, no financial stress. Meanwhile, I'm about to be homeless, my marriage is over, and my own sister won't help me. I took a breath, choosing my words carefully. If I thought letting you move in would actually help you, I'd consider it. But it won't. You'll park here indefinitely, and neither of us will grow. That's not fair. You don't know what I do. Don't I? I moved to the kitchen, needing distance. Remember when you stayed with me for 2 weeks after your fight with your ex-husband 3 years ago? You were supposed to leave after the weekend. You stayed for 14 days and left my spare room a disaster. I cleaned it up. After I asked you 3 times. I leaned against the counter. Remember when you borrowed my emergency credit card for car repairs? You charged $1,200 at a spa because you were stressed and needed self-care. Veronica's face flushed. I was going through a hard time. You're always going through a hard time. And I'm always expected to cushion the blow. But nobody ever asks if I'm going through hard times. Nobody checks if I need support. Because you never need anything. You've been independent since you were 16. Because I learned not to ask. The words came out louder than I intended. I learned that asking for help meant being told to handle it myself. So I did. And now you all resent me for having my life together, as if I didn't bust myself to get here. Veronica's eyes filled with tears. I don't resent you. I'm scared. I don't know how to do this alone. My anger softened slightly. Then learn. Not because you're being punished, but because you need these skills. You're 42. You should know how to budget, how to live within your means, how to support yourself. Easy for you to say. It's not easy. It's never been easy. But it's necessary. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. Mom said you'd understand once I explained how desperate things are. She said you just needed time to think about it. Mom's wrong. I've thought about it extensively. My answer is still no. Veronica stared at me for a long moment, then shook her head. You changed. You used to be kind. I'm still kind. I'm just not a doormat anymore. She left without another word, the door closing with a definitive click. I stood in my kitchen feeling hollowed out. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe I was cold and unfeeling. Maybe I'd become so focused on protecting myself that I'd lost the ability to be generous. But then I remembered the years of being overlooked. The birthday dinners where Veronica's achievements dominated conversation. The financial stress of paying off student loans while my parents funded Veronica's lifestyle. The countless times I'd swallowed my needs to avoid being seen as demanding. No. I wasn't being selfish. I was finally being fair to myself. Monday morning, I threw myself into work with renewed determination. My boss, Catherine, called me into her office mid-morning. I heard about what happened Friday, she said, gesturing for me to sit. Restaurant staff member is dating someone from accounting. Word travels. I wanted to sink through the floor. I'm sorry if that reflects badly on the firm. Stop. Catherine held up a hand. I'm not concerned about the firm's reputation. I'm concerned about you. Are you okay? The genuine care in her voice nearly broke me. I'm managing. Family situations can be incredibly complex. She leaned back in her chair. I went through something similar with my brother 10 years ago. He expected me to bail him out financially, and when I refused, he didn't speak to me for 3 years. What happened? He eventually got his life together. Found a decent job, paid off his debts, even apologized for how he'd treated me. But it took him hitting rock bottom first. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let someone face the consequences of their choices. I nodded, absorbing her words. Take the afternoon off if you need it, Catherine offered. And if you need to talk, my door is always open. I thanked her but stayed at work, finding comfort in blueprints and design specifications. Problems at work had clear solutions. Family problems felt like navigating a maze blindfolded. That evening, I received an email from Patricia. Not a phone call or text, but a formal email with a subject line that read, Family Emergency. Inside, she'd laid out their financial situation in brutal detail. Numbers, spreadsheets, foreclosure notices. It was worse than I'd imagined. They weren't just behind on the mortgage, they had maxed out credit cards, unpaid medical bills, and tax debt. The email ended with, "We need $15,000 immediately to avoid complete financial ruin. If you won't house your sister, surely you can provide this. We've given you everything. We deserve this from you." $15,000? That amount represented nearly half of everything I'd managed to save. I closed my laptop and called Aunt Linda. "They sent you the email too?" she asked immediately. "You got one?" "We all did. Your Uncle George, your cousins, even your grandmother. Patricia is reaching out to everyone." "What should I do?" Linda sighed. "Honey, that's up to you. But let me tell you what I'm doing, I'm saying no. Your parents made choices that led them here. Bad business decisions, living beyond their means, enabling Veronica's spending habits. They need professional help, not more money to throw at the problem. But they could lose everything. They're going to lose the house regardless. $15,000 might delay it a month or two, but it won't solve the underlying issues. They need to file bankruptcy, restructure their debt, and make serious lifestyle changes." After we hung up, I drafted a response to Patricia's email. I revised it 7 times before settling on, "I understand you're in a difficult position. I'm willing to contribute $2,000 toward your moving expenses and help you find a bankruptcy attorney. I cannot and will not provide $15,000. I love you, but I have my own financial future to consider." I hit send before I could change my mind. The response came within minutes. $2,000 is insulting. You clearly don't care about this family at all. My phone rang. Patricia, again. This time, I answered. "How dare you?" she started immediately, her voice trembling with rage. $2,000? That's what we're worth to you? Mom, please listen. No, you listen. I carried you for 9 months. I raised you. I sacrificed my career to stay home with you and your sister. And this is how you repay me? With pocket change? I closed my eyes, steadying my breathing. I'm offering what I can afford without jeopardizing my own financial security. The $2,000 is for your moving expenses. I also offer to help you find a bankruptcy attorney who can. Bankruptcy? Her voice rose to a near shriek. You want us to declare bankruptcy? Do you have any idea what that would do to our credit? To our reputation? It would give you a fresh start. It would eliminate the debt you can't pay, and we don't need a fresh start. We need our daughter to help us in our time of need. $15,000 would solve everything. No, it wouldn't. I kept my voice calm, though my heart was racing. You said yourself you're behind on multiple payments. $15,000 might buy you a month or two, but then what? You'd be back in the same position, except I'd be $15,000 poorer. So your money is more important than your family. The accusation hung in the air between us. I walked to my window, looking out at the street below where a couple pushed a stroller, their faces relaxed and happy. My financial stability is important, yes, I said slowly. I've worked incredibly hard to build this life. I'm not going to destroy what I've created to temporarily patch problems that need permanent solutions. Patricia's voice turned cold. You know what I think? I think you're enjoying this. Watching us struggle while you sit in your fancy condo. You always resented Veronica, didn't you? You were jealous of her. The words stung because there was a grain of truth buried in the accusation. Had I been jealous? Maybe when I was younger, watching her receive things I wanted. But I'd moved past that years ago. I'm not enjoying your pain, Mom. I'm protecting myself from being dragged into financial chaos that isn't mine to fix. Family shares burdens. Family should, yes. But this family has never shared burdens equally. I've carried more than my share for years, and I'm done. Silence. Then, quietly, if you don't help us, I don't know if I can forgive you. My throat tightened. Then I guess you won't forgive me. She hung up. I stood there holding my phone, feeling the weight of that conversation settle over me like a heavy blanket. Part of me wanted to call her back, to apologize, to offer the $15,000 just to make the pain stop. But I knew that path led nowhere good. Instead, I opened my laptop and researched bankruptcy attorneys in my parents' area. I found 3 with excellent reviews and reasonable fees. I compiled their information into an email along with links to debt counseling services and financial planning resources. I sent it to both my parents with a simple message: These resources can help you more than money can right now. I love you both. No response came. The next few days passed in a blur of work and deliberate distraction. I took on extra projects at the office, staying late to avoid the silence of my condo. Catherine noticed but didn't comment, simply leaving fresh coffee on my desk each morning with an encouraging note. Wednesday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I opened it to find a message from Veronica's soon-to-be ex-husband, Derek. I heard what's happening. Just wanted to say you're doing the right thing. Veronica needs to learn to stand on her own. I enabled her for 12 years and it destroyed our marriage. Don't make the same mistake. I stared at the message, surprised by this unexpected support from someone I'd barely spoken to in years. Derek had always seemed quiet, agreeable, content to let Veronica make all the decisions. I'd never known he felt trapped. I typed back, "Thank you for saying that. I'm sorry about your marriage." His response came quickly, "Don't be. I should have set boundaries years ago. Good luck." That message stayed with me. Derek's regret served as a warning: enable Veronica now, and 5 years from now I'd be the one full of resentment and exhaustion. My phone rang. Patricia, again. This time, I answered. "Thank God," she breathed. "I've been trying to reach you all night." "I know. Did you get my message? About the house?" "I did." Silence stretched between us. I could hear her breathing, waiting for me to offer the solution she expected. "I'm sorry for hitting you," she finally said. "I was stressed and scared, and I took it out on you. That was wrong." "Yes, it was. But you understand now why Veronica needs to stay with you? Why I was so insistent?" "I understand the situation," I replied carefully. "But my answer hasn't changed." "What?" Her voice climbed an octave. "You can't be serious. We're about to lose everything." "That's terrible, and I'm truly sorry you're going through this. But Veronica cannot move in with me." "You're going to let your sister become homeless?" "I'm going to let her figure out her own housing situation. She's 42 years old. She can find a roommate, a cheaper apartment, or apply for assistance programs. How can you be so cold?" I took a deep breath, watching a jogger pass by on the street below. "I'm not being cold. I'm being realistic. If Veronica moves in with me, it won't be temporary. She'll stay for months, maybe years. She won't contribute to rent or utilities. My space will become her space. And when I eventually ask her to leave, I'll be the villain all over again." "That's not fair. It's exactly what would happen, and you know it. This is the same pattern we've had my entire life. Veronica needs something, I'm expected to provide it, and my needs get dismissed. She's your sister. And I love her. But I'm not responsible for fixing her life." Patricia's voice turned icy. "Fine. When we're living on the street, I hope you can sleep at night knowing you had the power to help and chose not to." "You're not going to be living on the street," I said tiredly. "You have options. Downsize to an apartment. Dad can find work in his industry. Veronica can get a job, any job. You'll figure it out. Without your help." I didn't say that. I said Veronica can't move in. But I can help in other ways. This seemed to catch her off guard. "What do you mean?" "I can loan you some money for the mortgage. Not a gift, a loan with a repayment plan. I can help Veronica with her resume and job search. I can provide advice and support. But I won't open my home to someone who's going to take advantage of my generosity." The line went quiet for a long moment. When Patricia spoke again, her voice had lost some of its edge. "A loan wouldn't be enough. We're too far behind. Then you'll need to explore bankruptcy or foreclosure options. I can help you find a good attorney. You really won't budge on this?" "No, I won't." She hung up without saying goodbye. The next few weeks were brutal. My parents stopped speaking to me entirely. Veronica sent occasional guilt-laden texts about apartment hunting with no money. Family friends called to tell me how disappointed they were in my selfishness. But I held firm. I did offer the loan for the mortgage, $5,000 with a clear repayment schedule. Patricia refused it, saying it was too little too late. I sent Veronica information about social services, affordable housing programs, and job placement agencies. She ignored most of it. Then, 3 weeks after the restaurant incident, something shifted. Veronica called me. "Can we meet for coffee?" We met at a cafe near my office. She looked tired, thinner than before. But there was something different in her eyes, less entitlement, more awareness. "I got a job," she said after we'd ordered. It's just administrative work, pays $13 an hour, but it's something. That's great, I said, genuinely pleased. And I found a room to rent in a house with 3 other women. It's not much, but it's cheap and the landlord doesn't require first and last month. How did you manage the deposit? She looked down at her cup. Aunt Linda helped me. She also sat me down and had a very frank conversation about my spending habits and life choices. I could imagine that conversation. Linda didn't pull punches. I've been thinking about what you said, Veronica continued. About the pattern. You were right. I've been letting Mom and Dad bail me out my entire life, and then when they couldn't anymore, I expected you to do it. I appreciate you saying that. I'm not going to pretend I wasn't angry. I was furious with you for weeks. But starting this job, finding this room, figuring things out on my own, it's actually been good for me. Scary, but good. We talked for over an hour. She told me about the administrative position at a legal firm, how her boss was demanding but fair. She described her roommates, all women navigating their own financial challenges. She admitted that her marriage had been falling apart for years, that she'd been hiding behind denial and shopping therapy. What about Mom and Dad? I asked. Veronica's expression clouded. They're not doing well. Dad's been interviewing, but no offers yet. They're officially in foreclosure now. They have to be out of the house by the end of next month. Where will they go? There's a 2-bedroom apartment in Riverside. It's a huge downgrade, but it's what they can afford. Mom's devastated. She keeps saying she can't believe her own daughter abandoned her in her time of need. The guilt twisted in my stomach, familiar and insistent. I didn't abandon her. I know that now. But she's not there yet. She might never be. After Veronica left, I sat in the cafe for a while longer. My phone showed a new email from my boss, asking me to lead a major project for a corporate client. The kind of opportunity I'd been working toward for years. That evening, I drafted a letter to my mother. Not an email or text, but an actual handwritten letter. I explained my position calmly and clearly. I expressed my love for our family while maintaining my boundaries. I offered specific ways I could help that didn't involve sacrificing my home or financial stability. I ended with this: I hope someday you'll understand that saying no to one request doesn't mean saying no to our relationship. I will always be your daughter. But I also have to be my own person, with my own life and needs. I'm not ungrateful. I'm just grown. I mailed it the next day. 2 months passed. My parents moved into the Riverside apartment. My father eventually found work as a consultant, making less than before but enough to pay their bills. Veronica slowly built her savings and paid off some of her debt. I didn't hear from Patricia. Then one Saturday afternoon, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find my mother standing there, looking smaller somehow. Older. May I come in? She asked quietly. I stepped aside, and she entered my condo for the first time. She looked around at the carefully decorated space, the art on the walls, the plants I'd cultivated on the balcony. You've built a nice life here, she said. Thank you. We sat in my living room, an awkward silence stretching between us. I got your letter, Patricia finally said. I've read it probably 20 times. Okay. I was so angry at first. But Linda made me see. She made me see a lot of things I didn't want to face. She twisted her hands in her lap. I've been unfair to you. Not just about the Veronica situation, but for years. Decades, really. I didn't respond, letting her continue. I told myself I was being practical. Veronica needed more help, so you needed less. You were so capable, so independent. I thought I was playing to your strengths. She looked up, eyes shimmering. But I was just taking the easy path. It's harder to let your struggling child struggle. Easier to enable them. And in doing that, I took advantage of your strength. I appreciate you saying that, I said carefully. Slapping you is inexcusable. I've been seeing a therapist about my anxiety and stress management. She helped me understand how out of control I felt, and how I lashed out at the one person who was actually setting healthy boundaries. We talked for over 2 hours. Patricia didn't ask me to change my decision about Veronica. She didn't make excuses for the years of imbalanced treatment. She simply acknowledged what had happened and expressed genuine remorse. Before she left, she hugged me tightly. I'm proud of you, she whispered. I should have said that more often. I'm proud of the woman you've become, boundaries and all. After she left, I stood on my balcony watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. My phone buzzed with a text from Veronica. Mom just told me she visited you. Thank you for hearing her out. I typed back, of course. How's the new job going? Got a promotion to legal assistant. Better pay, actual benefits. Who knew working hard could be rewarding? I smiled at the screen. Things weren't perfect. My relationship with my parents remained complicated, rebuilt slowly through careful conversations and maintained boundaries. Veronica and I grew closer as she continued her journey toward independence and accountability. But that night at Giovanni's, when I walked out the door despite my mother's screams, I'd made a choice. Not to abandon my family, but to refuse a role that had never fit me, the eternal rescuer, the one whose needs didn't matter, the daughter who existed to solve everyone else's problems. The panic in Patricia's voice that night hadn't been about losing me. It had been about losing control, losing the safety net she counted on without ever asking if I was willing to be one. Standing my ground had cost me months of silence from my parents, judgment from extended family, sleepless nights wondering if I'd been too harsh. But it had also given me something invaluable, proof that I could choose myself without destroying the relationships I valued. That love and boundaries could coexist. That being a good daughter didn't require setting myself on fire to keep others warm. A year later, I hosted Thanksgiving at my condo. My parents came, as did Veronica and Aunt Linda. We squeezed around my dining table, passing dishes and sharing stories. Patricia raised her glass. I'd like to make a toast, she said. To family, to second chances, and to daughters who know their worth. Our glasses clinked together, and in that moment, I felt something settle into place. Not perfect harmony, but honest connection. Not unconditional agreement, but mutual respect. The slap had left no physical mark. The emotional scars had faded with time and genuine effort from everyone involved. What remained was clearer, stronger, and built on a foundation of truth rather than obligation. As I cleared plates later that evening, Veronica helped me in the kitchen. You know what's funny? She said, scraping leftovers into containers. If you'd let me move in that night, I'd probably still be here, unemployed and miserable. Being forced to stand on my own feet was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm glad it worked out, I said. I'm serious. I was drowning, and everyone kept throwing me life preservers. You were the only one who taught me to swim. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. The entitlement had disappeared, replaced by genuine confidence born from real achievement. She discovered what I'd learned years ago, that self-sufficiency wasn't a burden but a gift. That night, after everyone had left and I finished cleaning up, I stood in my quiet condo and felt the weight of the past year lift from my shoulders. The choice I'd made in that restaurant parking lot, with my cheeks still stinging and my mother's panic screams fading behind me, had seemed impossible at the time. But sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that set you free.